you remember, what is inflation? So, general increase in the prices of goods and services, we call it as inflation. So, in case of inflation, what happens to real value of money? Come on, dear. In case of inflation, what happens to real value of money? Decreases. So, we said face value of money, real value of money, intrinsic value of money. After that, we also understood. So, different types of goods. Free good, economic good. So, remember, staple goods, shopping goods, consumer goods, given goods, all that. So, what is the last that we covered? Huh? కొంచెం గట్టిగా చెప్పండి ఏనా సార్ లాస్ట్ ఏందా సార్ మైక్రో అండ్ మ్యాక్రోఎకనామిక్ ఫ్యాక్టర్స్ బిఫోర్ దట్ sinful goods or types of goods we completed in inflation chapter. Okay, so why prices are not constant? Why prices keep on changing? Demand and supply are not equal. Why demand and supply are not equal? Because resources are limited, needs are unlimited. So one thing is clear, prices are not constant, prices keep on changing. So prices are influenced by two fundamental factors, demand and supply. So inflation can be caused because of domestic factors, or inflation can be caused because of external factors, or both. Both. That's why I've written micro and macroeconomic factors. So in inflation chapter, types of inflation based on causes, types of inflation based on growth rate, inflation indexes, impact of inflation, WPI, CPI, and CPI further indexes. Apart from that, all others we have to cover one by one. We'll be trying to cover. So anyway, so we know that basic idea of prices are not constant. So demand for goods and services keeps on changing. So when prices increases, obviously there can be a chance where prices decreases also. So there are some more words just like related to inflation where we use the word deflation. Look at the word. Deflation, disinflation, stagflation, shrinkflation, greedflation, so look at the word deflation, disinflation, stagflation, shrinkflation, greedflation, so many things. Now what is the meaning of deflation, sir? Just you can say opposite of inflation is deflation. So what do you mean by opposite of inflation, sir? How general increase in the prices of goods and services is called as inflation. If overall prices of goods and services decreases, that is called as deflation. Now what does it mean, sir? Earlier you went to market, mirchi prices were 60 rupees per kg, potato prices were 40 rupees per kg, so sugarcane maybe 50 rupees per kg. Next week when went, most of the prices got decreased. So when prices got decreased, what happens to purchasing capacity? Increases. So deflation is good or bad? Everything is good as bad, both positives also are there, negatives also are there. So exact opposite of inflation is called as deflation. So which means if there is general decrease in the prices of goods and services over a period of time, that is called as deflation. Now inflation is harmful, but deflation is disastrous. Inflation is harmful, deflation is disastrous. One is sadist, one is psycho. Which is better? Come on, dear. You have to choose between sadist and psycho. Then which is better? No one. So there is no option. Between the two, only one option is there. Both. No, sir. Choose one them and kill them, sir. Come on, dear. Which one is better? Do you think inflation is better or deflation is better? Both are not good, sir. Correct? So inflation is harmful because purchasing capacity decreases. accepted. But if deflation continues, if deflation continues, production of goods and services keeps on decreasing. So it might lead to something called recession, something called depression. That's why inflation is harmful, deflation is disastrous. Also we said, in case of inflation, to revive, we have certain measures. But in case of deflation, for economy to revive, it takes a lot of time. That's the reason why I said inflation is harmful, but deflation is disastrous. Anyway, APPSC exam is difficult or group's exam is difficult? One is harmful, one is disastrous. So choice is ours. Come on here, which one are you choosing? That is better. Correct only? So you know it is harmful, but still you have made a choice. Because you want to test examiner's knowledge. They don't want to test. We want to test examiner's knowledge. That's the reason why we are writing the exam. Exam is not testing your knowledge, dear. You are somewhere highly intellectual, scientist, advisor. But you are just writing exam to test examiner's knowledge, not your knowledge. Whether examiner knows how to frame the questions or not. Like that only we are testing. Correct? So two statements. Inflation is harmful, deflation is disastrous. Now after this, disinflation. Look at the word. Word seems to be same, but there is a difference. What is the difference, sir? If prices are decreasing continuously, that is called as deflation. But if inflation rate is decreasing, then that is called as disinflation. Now what is meaning of the two, sir? Earlier inflation was 6%. Okay, dear. Next inflation became 8%. How much is the inflation growth rate? 2%. Next inflation is 9%. Still inflation is there. But what happened to inflation growth rate? Look at the inflation growth rate. From 6 to 8% inflation growth rate was 2%. 8 to 9% inflation growth rate is 1%. Inflation growth rate is there. It is there. But how much? 1% is less than previous. Then that is called as disinflation. Decrease in the inflation growth rate is called as disinflation. Plus decrease in the prices of goods and services over a period of time is called as disinflation. So both are same. No, that is called as deflation. Opposite of inflation happens, deflation. But when inflation growth rate is declining, that is called as disinflation. Now in disinflation also still inflation is there. Come on dear, in disinflation, inflation is there. In the word itself, inflation is there. Disinflation. Inflation is there, dear, but its growth rate is comparatively less. That's why that is called as disinflation. Then stagflation. So what is the meaning of stagflation? Remember, slowdown in the economy. What is the meaning of slowdown in the economy? Somewhere in national income chapter we covered. What is the meaning of slowdown in the economy? If GDP growth rate is positive, however, if GDP growth rate seems to be stagnated, meaning GDP growth rate is positive but it is less compared to previous year. That's called as slowdown. Now what is the meaning of stagnation? Starting half an hour of the class, what happens to concentration? Boom, boom will happen. After half an hour, what will happen? Slowdown will happen. Next hour, recession and depression. So, again during the break, boom, boom will happen. Correct only, dear? Friend is missing? Oh. So, look at. Take our own example. Stagnation. Sometimes you feel you studied too much, even though you did not study anything. That is called as stagnation. Every day we are feeling like that only, sir. Come on here. Sometimes you study too much. Because you studied 4 pages per day. How many pages, sir? 4 pages per day we studied, sir. Too much, sir. One line for one day is okay. So stagnation meaning there is no growth in the economy. There is no growth in the production of goods and services. However, prices of goods and services increases. Inflation combined with stagnation in the economy. That's why that is called as stagflation. అంటే ఏంటి, మార్కెట్లో ప్రైసెస్ పెరగట్లేదు, మార్కెట్లో జీడిపి పెరగట్లేదు, కానీ ధరలు పెరుగుతున్నాయి. మీనింగ్ how it is possible, sir? Earlier GDP growth rate was 5%. Now GDP growth rate is 5%. Later also GDP growth rate is 5%. So production of goods and services is not increasing. If production does not increases, between supply and demand, what happens to demand? And demand increases, what happens to prices? When prices increases, overall what is going to happen to inflation? So stagnation in the economy combined with inflation. That's why that is called as stagflation in the economy. Understood? Shrinkflation. See, to maximize the profit, they are keeping the price as it is, but they are reducing the quantity and the size of the product, which is called as shrinking. So many examples are there. Parle-G biscuits, cosmetics. So earlier you used to purchase a lip balm. That 50-gram lip balm was 50 rupees. Now price is same only, but lip balm they reduce not 50 grams, 47 grams. Unless you notice it properly, you don't know the quantity of the lip balm got decreased. So why are they doing it, sir? Price is kept same, but when quantity is decreased, what happens to profit? Increases. Observe any tea shop which is newly opened in Ashok Nagar. Initially, they'll give in big cup. As slowly students start coming, so what happens to size of the cup? Size of the cup decreases. Shrinking, shrinkflation. Whenever for the first time a new hotel is opened, tiffin center, what do they do? Bonda will be like bonda only, probably bigger size. Slowly as the numbers keep on coming, what happens to size? Price will be same, but bonda will become punugul size. So that is called as shrinkflation. Correct na? So preparation కూడా ఎలా ఉంది ఇప్పుడు ప్రస్తుతానికి? సో తర్వాత ఏమవుతుంది, పునుగులు అయిపోయాయి సార్ ఆల్రెడీ. సో దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ యాజ్ shrinkflation. బ్రెయిన్ పనిచేస్తుందా? ఉందా? వాడుతున్నారా డియర్? హాస్టల్ పెట్టేసి వచ్చాం సార్. If you don't use your brain regularly also, what happens to brain size? So you should use your brain regularly, dear. Otherwise brain also will become punuk kaadu. So brain concentration, brain usage will decrease. ఎలా వాడాలి రెగ్యులర్గా బ్రెయిన్ని? ఎలా వాడతారు మేడం? How will you use your brain regularly? Extra curricular activities. Washing machine లో కొంచెం regularly you should read, revise, reread and then practice. If you don't do it, your brain capacity also will decrease. Capacity meaning retention capacity. Correct only? That's called as shrinkflation. Greedflation. Suppose you are doing business. How much percent profit do you think upon is ideal? Suppose you are making a business. How much do you think profit percentage should be there in profit? Had breakfast? Wafers, chocolates, kurkure antena? Tiffin tinleda? No breakfast? Hardworking, sincere students. So when you go to a hotel, how much do you think is the profit for this hotel people on breakfast? So idli, dosa, vada. ఎంత ప్రాఫిట్ ఉండొచ్చు అని మీరు అనుకుంటున్నారు? హౌ మచ్ ప్రాఫిట్ డూ యూ థింక్ these tiffin centers are making? So you had one plate puri. One plate puri is 40 rupees or 45 rupees. How much do you think is the profit for them? 5 rupees. ఇంకా ఎక్కువే ఉంటుంది సార్, కరెక్ట్గా చెప్తున్నారు. సో కాస్ట్ ఆఫ్ మేకింగ్ పూరి మేబీ 20 రూపీస్ ఆర్ 25 రూపీస్ అంతే, అంతకన్నా తక్కువే. బట్ స్టిల్ దర్ సెల్లింగ్ ఫర్ 45 రూపీస్ అండ్ 50 రూపీస్. అంటే ఏం చేయాలి? ప్రిపేర్ అయ్యే బదులు ఊరికే పూరి సెంటర్. సో యూ నీ నాట్ డూ ఇట్. సో బిజినెస్ అంటే మీరే చేయాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. యూ కెన్ ఎస్టాబ్లిష్ ద సిస్టమ్ విచ్ మేక్స్ మనీ ఫర్ యూ. దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ యాజ్ బిజినెస్. ఓకే డియర్. సో greedflation. There is no end to human greed. ఎంత డబ్బులు అయితే సరిపోతుంది మీరు అనుకుంటున్నారు లైఫ్ బాగా ఎంజాయ్ చేయాలంటే? సపోజ్ గాడ్ ఈజ్ ఆస్కింగ్ యూ, మేడం హౌ మచ్ మనీ డూ యూ వాంట్? ఓన్లీ వన్ టైం 100 crores. సరిపోతుందా 100 crore? 100 crores per year, per month, per day, per hour. So there is no end to human greed. So greed will never end at all. So to maximize the profit, deliberately business people are creating artificial scarcity in the market. So how they do? Suppose there is bumper yield in potato crop. What do? Deliberately, commission agents will purchase the potato from the farmers at low price. They'll store that in the godown. They don't release the stock. If they don't release the stock, what happens to supply in the market? So what happens to demand? What happens to prices? So after price increases in the market, then release the stock from the godown. So they purchased at low price. They're selling at high price. That is only is called as greedflation. So during COVID-19 time also, if you remember, there was so much demand for one injection called remdesivir. Why? Everybody want to use the injection, but the availability of injections are less. So in black market also they used to sell. What happens to price? That is called as greedflation. So deflation, disinflation, stagflation, shrinkflation, greedflation, reflation. When inflation is decreasing, that is called as disinflation. When prices are revived, that is called as reflation. Now what is the meaning of this? Through government efforts, if you try to reduce the inflation growth rate, that is called as disinflation. But when the economy is suffering from deflation, when prices are continuously falling, suppose you are the manufacturer, continuously prices are falling. So will you manufacture the goods? Why you don't manufacture? Because there is no demand for goods and services. So if you don't manufacture goods and services, what happens to economic activity? Decreases. What happens to employment opportunities? So we should try to revive the economy also. So if economy is suffering from deflation, government will take certain efforts to revive the prices. That is called as reflation, like refueling. So look at two statements. Deflation is opposite of inflation. Is it clear? But when inflation gets reduced, that is called as disinflation. Inflation is there, but inflation gets decreased, that is called as disinflation. In case of deflation, we try to revive the prices. That revival of the prices is called as reflation. R-E-R-E. Reflation, disinflation, inflation, stagflation, shrinkflation, growthflation. Or you can say different combination, whatever terms they want, they can use it. Which of the following statements are correct? Statement 1. There can be economy with 0% inflation. Come on, madam. What do you think? There can be economy with 0% inflation. Why? In any country, inflation cannot be zero at all, because demand and supply can never be equal. So always some prices are increasing, some prices are decreasing. But if overall prices are increasing, it is good to some extent, but beyond which we have to control. So we'll try to cover types of inflation based on growth rate, types of inflation, so based on causes, then cost push inflation, demand pull inflation, monetary inflation, all that is there. But if you look at what is cost push inflation, what is demand pull inflation? Name itself says, look at the word. Cost push inflation, demand pull inflation, monetary inflation, so why did you come to Hyderabad? Push factor or full factor? తోసేశారు సార్. ఎవరు తోసేశారు? పేరెంట్స్ తోసేశారా నిజంగానే? Push factors. In the rural area, good quality education is not there, employment opportunities are not there, maybe better living conditions are not there. So people are migrating from rural area to urban area. So it is called as push factor. So because of certain reasons, we are going from one place to the other place. That's why that is called as push. Pull factors. So which factors pull you towards UPSC exam? Corruption. తగ్గేదేలే. What else, madam? ఎందుకు UPSC ప్రిపేర్ అవ్వాలనుకున్నారు? Job security, respect, social status. ఎందుకు పుల్ అయ్యారు UPSC టువర్డ్స్ డిగ్రీ తర్వాత? అబ్బాయిలు అయితే ఫైనల్ కుర్రు డౌరీ అంట, అంతేగా. పవర్, మనీ, విజిబుల్ పవర్ అండ్ మనీ, విజిబుల్ పవర్ అండ్ మనీ. సో పుల్ ఫ్యాక్టర్స్ అండ్ push factors. Prices can increase because of any reasons, but you have to look at primary reason. Now what do you meaning of cost? What do you meaning of factor cost? Already we covered. What do you meaning of so cost, factor cost. Increase in factors of production is the reason for increase in prices. Then that is called as factor cost. So if cost increases, what happens to prices also? Increases. So which means when cost increases, prices are being increased. Increase in the cost is the reason for increase in the prices. That's why that is called as cost push inflation. Okay, cost is increasing, meaning increase in the factors of production is the reason for increase in the prices. That's why that is called as cost push inflation. Demand pull inflation. See, look at the word. Primary factor for increase in the prices is demand. So what is the meaning of this, sir? When because of special features available in the product, we try to buy that in more quantity. As a result, what happens to demand? Demand increases. That's why that is called as demand pull inflation. Now why everybody is trying to buy Apple phones? Brand, features, show off, maybe performance also. Pictures are very good, quality, different types of modes, AI mode also is available. Whatever, you can convert boy into girl, girl into boy. I mean, not the person, photo only in the mobile phone. Different options are available. So because of the specific features, we are buying a particular product because of which prices are increasing. So what is the primary reason for increase in the price? Demand. So because of demand, if prices increases, that is called as demand pull inflation. Cost push inflation. What is cost push inflation? Because of increase in factors of production, if prices increases, primary reason. So inflation can happen because of cost push also, because of demand pull also. Okay dear? So one is cost push inflation, one is demand pull inflation. Understood? So this is called as cost push and demand pull inflation. So monetary inflation. Remember there is something called helicopter money. What is helicopter money? Central bank will print the money and distribute freely. That is called as helicopter money. So if more money is given to you freely, what will you do with the money? మమ్మీ ఎంత ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ చేశారు? 10,000, 5,000. డాడీ ఎంత ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ చేశారు? మమ్మీకి తెలియకుండా ఇంకో 5,000. సపోజ్ ఇద్దరు 1,00,000 రూపాయలు ఇచ్చారు అనుకుందాం. మమ్మీ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్డ్ 1 lakh, డాడీ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్డ్ 1 lakh to your account. They won't transfer, but they transfer. What will you do? ఎప్పుడు డివైన్ అయినా. సో కమాండ్ హియర్, నౌ యువర్ బ్యాంక్ బ్యాలెన్స్ ఇస్ 2 lakhs with you. What will you do? అబ్బో, ఇన్వెస్ట్మెంట్స్ ఎవరి మీదనో. సో స్టాక్ మార్కెట్, ల్యాండ్ ప్రైసెస్ 2 lakhs తో ఏం చేస్తాడు డియర్? He will spend. You will spend. So when money is more, what happens to demand for goods and services? So what is the reason for change in the prices? How the demand is increased because of what? Money. That's why that is called as monetary inflation. Okay? Cost push inflation, demand pull inflation, monetary inflation, greedflation, stagflation, deflation, reflation. So just now I said disinflation. See, all this we are trying to understand inflation from cause. What is the reason for increase in the price? Now in recent times, prices of rice is increasing. What is the reason why prices of rice is increasing? Is it because of cost push or is it because of demand pull? చెప్పండి. In India, rice prices are increasing. Okay? So what is the reason for increasing the rice prices? చెప్పండి, పర్లేదు. డిమాండ్ పుల్ ఎందుకు అంటున్నాను మేడం? వై డూ యూ సే డిమాండ్ పుల్ డియర్? Rice is inevitable because essential commodity. తింటున్నారా డైలీ? How many times? 6 times. 3 times officially, 3 times unofficially. So it is essential consumption. Because of unexpected rainfall, the crop got damaged. So what happened to supply of the rice? Very good. So what happened to demand of the rice? So that's the reason why prices are mainly because of demand pull inflation. Now look at petrol prices and diesel prices. Look at petrol prices and diesel prices. So what is happening to petrol prices and diesel prices in India? Increasing. Why? Supply is less. Because in the international market also, wars are happening among many countries. Crude oil supply got decreased. So transportation charges are increasing. When transportation charges increases, what happens to prices of goods also increases. This is called as cost is pushing, demand is pulling, or it can be combination of both also. Okay? You were supposed to know the meaning of the word correctly. So types of inflation. Next, put the heading. First, we'll write all the terms related to this. So, deflation. Inflation definition we have written. రాసాం ఇంతకుముందు ఇన్ఫ్లేషన్ డెఫినేషన్ రాసాం కదా, రాసాం. డిఫ్లేషన్ affiliative and deflation. It refers to decrease in the prices over a period of time. Decrease in the prices over a period of time due to micro and macroeconomic factors. Due to micro and macroeconomic factors. That's why that is called as deflation. Inflation is considered to be harmful while deflation is disastrous. Deflation is disastrous. Then disinflation. If inflation growth rate decreases, if inflation growth rate decreases, it is referred as disinflation. It means there is increase in the prices. However, it is less compared to previous. So deflation, disinflation both are same? No. Decrease in the prices is deflation. Decrease in the inflation is disinflation. Whenever inflation is too high, in that only, one more line, all this you are writing under disinflation only. Whenever inflation is too high, government and RBI announces certain measures to decrease the prices. To decrease the prices. To decrease the prices. So that is referred as disinflation. Whenever inflation is too high, government and RBI announces certain measures to decrease inflation. That's only is referred as disinflation. Stagflation. Stagflation. It refers to a situation in which economic growth is stagnated. Economic growth is stagnated. However, prices are increasing. Generally, in case of recession, stagflation is witnessed. Generally, in case of recession, stagflation is witnessed. Okay? So that's why that is called as stagflation. Shrinkflation. SHRINK, shrinkflation. It refers to a situation in which quantity of the product is reduced. It refers to a situation in which quantity of the product is reduced to maximize the profit. Even though price is kept as same. So what does it mean? Price is same, but quantity got reduced. That's why that's called as shrinkflation, greedflation. Greed, GREED. It means deliberately creating artificial scarcity in the market. Deliberately creating artificial scarcity in the market. Deliberately creating artificial scarcity in the market through black marketing. To manipulate the prices, to earn more profit. To earn more profit. That's why that is called as greedflation. Cost push inflation. Cost push inflation. Cost push inflation. It refers to a condition in which primary reason for increase in the prices is change in cost of factors of production. Change in cost of factors of production. See, what does it mean? If inputs cost or raw material cost increases, what happens to price of the goods also? That is only called as cost push inflation. It means if input cost or raw material cost increases, it means if input cost or raw materials cost increases, prices also increase. That's called as cost push inflation. Then demand pull inflation. Demand pull inflation. It refers to increase in the prices primarily due to unique and salient features available in a product. Unique and salient features available in a product. As a result, demand is increasing. Which is leading to increase in the prices. As a result, demand is increasing, which is leading to increase in the prices. So again, see why people want to buy something which everybody else is buying. What is the reason? Social status, bandwagon effect, which we are going to read later. So monetary inflation. It refers to a situation in which primary reason for increase in the prices. It refers to a situation in which primary reason for increase in the prices is due to increase in money supply. It refers to a situation in which primary reason for increase in the prices is due to increase in money supply. 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 Is due to increase in money supp increase in money supply, which is announced by central bank. Increase in money supply, which is facilitated by central bank. Which is facilitated by central bank. Okay. Now, if you look at, there is something called headline inflation, core inflation, food inflation, bottleneck inflation, imported inflation, in the recent times, protein inflation. Now, what's the meaning of headline inflation, sir? Observe, whenever prices are increasing, newspaper headlines, TV headlines. Suppose onion prices are continuously increasing. How headline will be there in the newspaper? Kannillu tappistunna ulli. Ulli chesina lolli. So, which means when onion prices are continuously increasing, look at the newspaper headlines. Probably they are trying to say, look, government is not doing anything. Prices are increasing. Green chilli prices are increasing. So, newspaper headline. Mandutunna mirchi. So, which means, why newspaper and print media will try to focus on the prices? Everybody is getting impacted here. Whether you are rich or poor, it does not matter. Every day, you are getting impacted because of prices. So, newspaper headline inflation. The definition we have written, general increase in the prices of goods and services over a period of time based on demand and supply. That is only is called as headline inflation. But what is core inflation, sir? See, prices can increase because of any reasons, but primarily, food and fuel. So, most of the money that we are spending is being used for what products? Food and fuel. So, prices are increasing, accepted. But out of total goods and services, major significant change is witnessed in two products. What are those two products? Food and fuel. Meaning, overall prices are increasing, that is called as headline inflation. However, what is the trigger point of price rise? Apart from food and fuel. So, anyway, food prices are regularly changing, fuel prices are regularly changing. So, what is the concept of core inflation, sir? Overall marks are increasing. Overall prices are increasing. That is called as headline inflation. But we do not know what is the primary reason. Is it because of which subject? Is it because of which paper? Is it because of which specific contribution overall marks are increasing? Similarly, what is the primary reason for change in the price? So, to understand that, we also calculate core inflation. In core inflation, we did not consider prices of food and prices of fuel. Except the price of food and fuel, remaining will consider, that is called as core inflation. Overall, whether prices are increasing or decreasing, that is called as headline inflation. Now, try to understand, core inflation is part of headline inflation, or headline inflation is part of core inflation. So, core inflation is part of headline inflation, because headline inflation overall we are calculating. Core inflation, we are calculating prices of goods and services except food and fuel. Except food and fuel. So, food and fuel is also included where? Headline inflation. So, can I say that headline inflation minus price of food and fuel is core inflation? Or core inflation plus increase in the prices of food and fuel is called as headline inflation. Then food inflation. So, what is the meaning of food inflation?